Alright, so we're going to go ahead and delete this, and we're going to make a new title. Go to the left. You'll see where it says Type Tool. By clicking on the Type Tool, or just pressing the shortcut T, which is very useful, you can click directly on the screen and just start typing. And it will make a title for you. Boom, real quick and simple. There's not going to be any effects or anything, but this is simple for adding text on top. So let's say you don't want it to be an intro title. You just want there to be something that pops up on the screen to tell your viewers something simple, easy. This is defaulted with some stuff, so I'm going to reset all of this right here so you'll see what it could look like straight out with some really basic Arial. There we go. Really basic text, something that you'd see on any editing program. And we're going to change this to, again, video title. Now you can see here this white, it works fairly well, but let's say that I have it way up here in the corner and it's bright and it doesn't really separate very well from the background. It's kind of starting to blend in. It's a bad example. Let me go ahead and change this real quick just so that you can see what I'm talking about. Oops. Alright, so we got this bright sun in here and it's really messing with things. So it's hard to read this video title thing. It kind of gets lost. So let's go ahead and do what's called a drop shadow. Select this text. You can click directly on it, or you can click on the video track. It doesn't really matter. And over to the right, you'll see what is called appearance. And there'll be a dialog box that says shadow. What you're going to do is you're going to click on this right here. And most of the time, it's going to be defaulted to something where there's nothing there. But it gives you the option. Now, what a drop shadow is essentially a shadow beneath the text that is black. And you can change this, you can morph this so that it's more like a shadow or more like just a black outline. And I'll show you the difference. Right here's your opacity. This is how much shadow that there actually is. If you drag this all the way up, that's maximum shadow here. And you can see on the video track what it's doing. It's adding that shadow. It's helping this text stand out from the background without really taking anything away from the video. Now, you can make this way darker. So if I drag this bottom slider, this is how soft or hard the shadow is. If I want a really dark shadow like this, I can drag it all the way over and it's just black. There's no softness to it at all, and it's just solid black. And this, it can be a little bit distracting and looks a little bit like you did it on the cheap. So by using this bottom slider here, you can feather it out, make it soft so that it's there, but the audience doesn't quite notice it. And depending on how much light is coming from back here, this bright sun is really poking through, you might have to use more of a hard shadow. You can also mess with how far the shadow is behind the text, and that's this right here. This is the distance. If you change the distance, you'll see right here up where the title is how far the shadow is moving away and close to your title. Most of the time you don't want it to be far away. That's distracting. Everybody can tell that you've used the drop shadow. You want to bring it typically as close as you can where the audience will notice. Typically between 5 and 10 is where I like to set it. The closer the better for me. You can also change the angle. Right above here is an angle slider. You can move this around and you can see that it's dancing around our text here. You may want to make this a different angle here, depending on what effect you're going for. Most of the time, though, I like to put my drop shadow as close as possible, so people don't really know that it's there. So keeping it default is usually pretty fine with me, and I'll set this somewhere around 5, 6 maybe, and then I can darken this drop shadow up like so. And maybe I want it to be even closer than that, so it's like this. But as you can see, it still allows video title to cut through on the video without being distracting or obnoxious. And then you can change the text to whatever you want it to be. So maybe we don't want boring Arial and we want to go to something else that's a little bit more clean or modern. We can go to like Myriad Pro. And we've got light condensed. Let's go light semi-extended. And this is a very thin, more modern title that you might see. And there's this is an example of a text that has many, many different styles. A lot of these pro styles have a lot of options for being light or being bold or just looking different in general, depending on what you're looking for in your text style. If you want it to be clean or more punchy. So there you go. That's your titles. Now we're going to move on to some basic effects and some basic color correction that you can do and color grading that you can do straight from Premiere without having to add anything else. Let's move on to the next one, which is going to be effects.